Hi, this is Doug Morrison, and welcome to this episode of Teach for Effect with more tips on how you can be a better teacher, trainer, or instructor. If you'd like even more help with your teaching, stay tuned till the end of the video for a special offer. In this episode, we're going to look at the learning factor of effect. This factor states that you must ensure that your students have a feeling of satisfaction or accomplishment from having taken part in your lesson. Students need to gain a feeling of satisfaction from your lesson. If they aren't getting something out of it, whether it's satisfaction over what they've learned or pride at having mastered some new skill or talent, they'll become discouraged, bored, or apathetic. You won't hold their attention that way. Learning is most effective when it takes place in an encouraging, friendly, safe environment. If your students don't learn anything, or if you critique or criticize in a harsh manner, or allow the students to make fun of each other, their experience will obviously be unpleasant. They'll become discouraged and may even give up. That failure would be yours, not theirs. Whatever the learning situation, there should be elements of it that affect your students in a positive way. That doesn't mean that every lesson has to be completely successful. Maybe all they learned was how not to do something. But a sense of some accomplishment will go a long way towards success, both theirs and yours. And if you can, arrange for some form of reward for their success. I remember a story about two sisters who were reminiscing about growing up, and as they were talking, one of them said, "Hey, do you remember how Mom used to hide money, and if we cleaned the house well enough, we found it and we got rewarded with it?" One of their daughters was listening and said, "Well, why didn't you continue doing that for us, Mom?" And her mom just smiled and said, "I did." Maybe it would have been good if they'd known there was a reward for doing a good job. Now, here are some tips to keep in mind. Develop your lesson from your students. Ask them questions to get their thoughts and ideas and learn what they need to know and what they don't understand. Obtain constant feedback from your students. Don't just ask them if they understand, because what they'll do is say yes, just to keep you happy. That used to happen to me when I was teaching through a translator overseas. And sometimes the easiest thing to do is just accept their yes and go on. But instead, ask them questions, test their understanding, watch their facial expressions, and respond to what's happening in their minds. Show your students how to improve even more when they do succeed, and make sure you offer praise when it's earned. Always back up your statements with reasons. Details may be forgotten, but concepts will be remembered. If they know the why, they're much more likely to remember the what and the how. And when a student is having trouble, find some way to gain a measure of success, even if this means just doing one step at a time. I had a student that was having problems with one of the maneuvers in flight training. There were 5 steps he had to do in just the right order to get the maneuver right, but he couldn't put it all together. So what I did is I broke it down and I made him just do one of those steps, then I'd do the next 4. When he was comfortable with that, I'd have him do the first 2 steps, and then I'd do the 3. Eventually, he got it. If things get worse, as sometimes happens when frustration takes over, back up, review the previous lesson, review the fundamentals of the new lesson, and make sure that they've already mastered what they need to learn to move on. Always make sure you avoid ridicule and sarcasm. It may seem funny to you, but it's not to your students. And try to have each lesson end with some form of reward, even if it's something as simple as sincere praise for what they've accomplished. If you found this video helpful, then please help me out by liking, sharing, and subscribing. And be sure to check out the other videos in this series. I've placed links to them in the description below. And please leave comments on anything that you found particularly helpful, or add to my list of teaching tips by sharing things that you found that help you in your teaching. As a flight instructor, 80% of my students had to pass the test the first time, or I lost my privileges as an instructor. Do you teach something that your students absolutely need to learn? If so, consider my Teaching for Effect course. I compiled it from more than 40 years of experience teaching on 2 continents, where I taught everything from Sunday school to commercial aviation. It can be taught online, both one-on-one or in a group setting, or if you prefer, I also have an online course which you can study at your own pace. It comes with a workbook and homework assignments that will help you to introduce new learning principles into your own teaching. Check out the online course in the link below the video. It's now being offered at a special reduced price, or contact me at the email address also posted below this video. See you next time, stay safe, and happy teaching.